Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei got harem with Irina, Raynare and Kuroka. Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. It all began one day for me fighting to survive, to live. I thought I was fighting for love. Funk, I was an idiot, I should have realized it sooner, but for those who don't know who I am, I'm Issei, the Red Dragon Emperor, and master of multiple forms of ways to fight and anything similar. I am also the strongest on the planet and master of multiple transformations. But I am getting ahead of myself, let's start from the beginning. At the fight. Shit, there is no way I can win like this, there is nothing left I can do. I feel that my balance breaker is going to be done anytime now, and I do not know what this attack can do. All I know is that I will be screwed if I do nothing, and if I just get rid of this attack, then Vali will take me down no problem, but to even stop this attack, I need to know how to do it in the first place. Drake, is there anything I can do to stop this attack? Issei thought in panic, which made Drake think about the situation Issei was in for a moment before sighing. Not really, I can think of a bunch of things that you can do to stop this attack, but there are many problems to all the plans I have, and they all involve around you from the way you act and your current condition, added with the arsenal you have. Drake replied to Issei's question, causing Issei to look confused about what Drake was saying. What do you mean? Why can't I do anything that you are suggesting? Issei wondered in his mind, causing Drake to snort when he heard the questions in Issei's mind. That is obvious, you have no formal training. Well, I can't blame you for the lack of magic, everything else is your main problem. Before you even became a devil, you had no physical abilities that are helpful, except a bit of a pain resistance, that leads to the flaw about your stamina, and the fact that you lack power into your blows. Next is the fact that while you do not own a sword at the beginning, you could learn some lessons from your knight-like friends. Then there is the fact that you know no martial arts, which ruins what you do even more, and this leads to more flaws than you know. Dryag told Issei with a growl, making Issei flinch a bit when he heard what Drake said. Maybe, but I never knew this would happen to me becoming a devil after being killed on my first date, who was a fallen angel, who wanted me dead, to begin with, just because I have a powerful sacred gear. Issei thought in annoyance, but what he thought made Drake curious for a moment before he shook his head mentally to stay on track. Well, I will admit you are right, there is nothing you can do. One plan I have is that you could use the dividing powers that you got and boost that ability, but like you thought before, you are running low on power, and with that said, there is nothing you can do. Drake said with a mutter, causing Issei to get frustrated. Well, can't I just give you another limb or something? I mean, that boosted me for 10 seconds, so that means if I give you something better, then I should get stronger and have enough time to finish this fight with Vali, right? Issei thought to Drake, which made the Red Western Dragon think about what Issei said for a moment and consider this idea he had. Well, I will admit that would work. It will not in this case. If I take a limb, then there is the case that there could be side effects, and I would not even know what they would be like. For all I know, it could activate the ultimate technique, and let me tell you, that is something that you do not want to happen, no matter what. Added to that, the only thing that would do something that will give you a big effect in this fight is you giving me your heart, so I then can transform it to a dragon one, but even then there could be the chance of you dying, and that chance of living is about 0.5%. Drake answered Issei's question, and the answer he got made Issei weak in the legs when he realized the only chance of winning was a chance of getting killed by giving up his heart. So nothing, there is nothing I can do, Issei thought with a devastating look appearing on his face, not that anyone could see with the helmet on his face, which somewhat hurt Drake, till the red dragon was bugged by what Issei said. I forgot, how did you become a devil again? I do not fully know what happened. I mean, I have been reviewing your memories, but after seeing the perverted stuff I stopped. Drake voiced his question to Issei, who was a bit confused about what Drake said. I told you, I was killed during my date with Raynare, then the next thing I know I'm a devil. Issei answered Drake's question, but what Issei said set off a lot of alarms for the Red Dragon. Issei, did anything happen during the week that leads to your date or during your date? Drake questioned, causing Issei to blink for a moment before thinking about it carefully and started to think about what happened before he was killed by Raynare. Now that you mentioned it, I do remember that I felt like I was being watched. There were also the occasions that I think I saw a shadow during my date with Raynare here and there. Also before that I met Ria's familiar, who was handing out some flyers, but from what I noticed was that the stack was that it was not touched. Also when I took one, her familiar disappeared. Issei recalled in his mind, but when he thought about it more, the more he started to get suspicious about what happened during the time he was killed. But when Drake heard what Issei said, all he could do was wince mentally. Issei, one more question, what type of flyer was it, and also how did Rias know about these fallen that appeared in town? Drake questioned Issei once more, making Issei once more think about what happened that day. Rias said nothing that I can recall, But from the sounds of it she was suspicious. I am shocked they did not handle the problem, because she takes care of other problems since it is her territory. Also about the flyer, I think it was a teleportation seal that was on the flyer. Issei answered Drake's question, but as he did so he started to feel numb everywhere in his body, but as this happened, he did not notice that Azazel was trying to talk to him. Issei Drake started, but Issei did not hear him. She appeared the second I died that seal. It was different from the regular style kind of teleportation ones on the other files, and in the clubhouse, from one lesson it looked timed. She let me died, but if that is the case then that means Akeno knew Kiba knew Kaneko knew, but then again, they listened to Rias more because she saved them in a way. Am I extendable? Issei thought, leading to dark thoughts entering his mind and a bunch of whispers appearing in his head, which Drake noticed and started to fear for Issei's mental health. Issei. Drake shouted in Issei's head, snapping him out of his dark thoughts that were appearing in his head. But Drake Issei thought in stun, making the red dragon snort a bit. Do not go dark on me, also do not let those dark thoughts appear again, that is how my other users died. Drake told Issei, who was shocked for a moment before nodding his head mentally, only to return in deep thought till something came to mind, a crazy idea that would change everything for good. Drake, what would happen if I gave you my heart? Issei questioned hollowly, which somewhat scared Drake for a moment. Well, honestly I do not know for sure. I do know that you will become a dragon, but as for how much I do not know. Honestly I think that it could destroy the evil pieces if the armband is still active, or it could do something else. I am not sure, I never fully did this before. Drake told Issei, who nodded his head at what he heard. Then do it, I do not care right now, I just want to beat Vali right now and get some answers to see if I am right about what I think. That is it, even if it costs me my life, I need to do this. Issei replied to Drake in his mind, shocking him greatly. Are you sure there is no coming back from this if you do this? Dryad claimed in worry, but Issei just clenched his fist at the thought of what might happen to him, but shook it off a second later when he moved his eye to look at his right arm and saw a part of his dividing. I am as fucking sure as I ever will be. Issei thought with a snarl, but he did not notice that the people watching the fight were all calling out to him, but they got no response from Issei, which made Vali raise an eyebrow at this. What is wrong? Issei Haidu, SC Vali started, but was interrupted when Issei let out a roar that made everyone look at him in shock and fear, except Vali, who was in awe, as Issei's power was getting stronger than before, but it was not from rage or his emotions. It was strange to Vali, but he can sense that he was focused on something, a goal perhaps. Honestly Vali did not know about what it was. But he can tell that whatever it is, it was the cause of whatever was happening, because he was calm and was not a boost that increased his power. However, that is just the perspective of those watching. To Issei and Drake something else was happening, but it was not good, but also not bad either. What the hell is this? Both my arms burn, so does my chest, along with my throat and eyes, everywhere burns. Drake, what is going on? Issei thought in panic as he let out another roar, causing those watching to look at him with either worry or interest, but the interest is from the leaders and Vali, while everyone else was worried about what is happening to Issei. I do not know. But the band Azazel gave you is messing with the transformation of your heart, added with that the evil pieces are having a negative effect with the change as well, along with Ascalon, and here is a note, the bio band has a small piece of fallen DNA, or there is fallen DNA somewhere in you or around you that is causing this, so in other terms. You have multiple energies fighting for dominance in you, and the more this goes on, the more power is coming from the boosted gear, making past energies I worked with coming in you as well. Drake called out, which made Issei's eyes widen, before letting out a yell that soon turned into a roar of a dragon in a matter of seconds. Screw this energy then. If it is a part of me, then I can control it. Issei thought in pain, before he tried to dig deep within himself, so that he can gain control of the energy pulse that he felt coming off himself, and before anyone knew it a bright light engulfed him, as he released one more roar. And as this happened everyone grew worried about what happened to Issei, since they could not hear him anymore. Though when they could see again they were shocked to Issei standing in the same place he was once more, but he was standing up straight, and from the looks of his stance alone he looked more confident, added to that he was also radiating more power than before, but if you looked at the ground you can see some items on the floor. They were 8 pawn pieces that were on the floor looking lifeless, as well as having some crack marks on them as well. Next was the wristband that Azazel made that was destroyed. Interesting Issei Haidu, you seem to have more power than I thought, but even so you still can't beat me, Vali claimed in a beepy tone, which caused Issei to scoff at what Vali said, before a pair of dragon wings appeared from his back and in a burst of speed he appeared in front of Vali, shocking not only Vali himself, but everyone that was watching. And before they knew it Issei punched Vali in the chest so hard that Vali lost his balance breaker once more, before crashing into the ground, but the second he got up he coughed in pain, before re-equipping his balance breaker once more. Yes, go Issei. Almost everyone cheered, except Sona and the leaders, since they sensed something off with Issei. But not only them, Vali noticed as well, but soon everyone noticed that Issei was not attacking Vali anymore, which confused everyone greatly. Rias called confused about what was going on, but Issei turned to look at her, and for some reason unknown to her, she started to shiver in fear. Rias, I have a question, but this question is something that I have been wondering about after it appeared in my mind, and I could ask any other time, but I need an answer. Issei spoke in a serious voice with no emotion, making everyone look at him in fear, except Rias, who blushed thinking this was a question about going on a date, and nodded her head. How did you know about Raynare killing me? Issei asked, causing Rias to freeze as the spotlight was now on her, making everyone that did not know what happened to look at her with wide eyes. What? Rias asked nervously, but Issei's helmet disappeared and looked at her with a glare. That answers it. You know, I have to admit I loved you. Since I cannot love someone who allowed me to die. You could have told me to stay away back then, and I would have to listen, but you didn't. You allowed me to die on my first date, with someone who I thought loved me, but wanted to kill me, and used the chance to add me to your group. You used me since day one to get out of your engagement with Riser. And for that, I hate you. Rias Gremory, but I should say the same thing to 3 more people since they knew what happened. Issei spoke darkly while looking at Rias, Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko, as everyone gasped and looked shocked. Even Vale felt shocked about the information that was given, but one person was angry, no pissed off, and that person was Irina, who was ready to kill with Zenobia close to doing the same, while Asia and Gasper cried in shock about what they heard. She what? Irina thought looking at Rias, but if she looked at Rias, Kiba, Kaneko and Akeno, she would have seen that they looked a bit sad and or depressed. Kiba started a bit depressed, but Issei growled and shot a fireball near Kiba's feet, making everyone shocked once more. It should also be noted that I am no longer a devil. Apparently when doing what I and Drake were doing happened to have a side effect, and that was due to the armband that Azazel made, the evil pieces and Ascalon, leading to what I am now, so now I am a dragon. Issei claimed with a bit of humor, as everyone looked at him in shock, well, everyone except Azazel, who looked a bit interested in what happened. But before anything else could happen, the barrier around the school broke and a man wearing a Chinese kinda get-up crashed into the ground and landed next to Vali, before looking at everyone with a smile on his face. Vali, it is time to go. We have to go battle some Olympians. The man cheered, making Vali glance at Issei once more, as if he was having an internal debate with himself, before he made a portal by using his right hand. Oh now Vali, and to make it clear, if we ever meet again, I will be stronger than before, so I hope you get ready for the next round in our duel, Vali. Because the next time I will get stronger, and I will not hold back when it happens. Issei spoke, then disappeared into the portal that appeared by the making of his balance breaker, since it glowed brightly for a second, which everyone called his name when they saw this happening, but Vali smirked a bit when he saw this, along with his comrade. I like this new version of him, he might be a challenge, Vali spoke with a smirk still on his face, before both he and his comrade disappear. Unknown location. Well, Drake, it is time to train, so I will need your help to master these powers of mine, and to find someone to help me with magic and weapons. After all, if I want to survive and get stronger, I will need a lot of help, so will you help me, my friend? Issei asked Drake, who laughed a bit. Of course, I will. After all, you are the first partner I like having. I would hate to see that it would end, but a warning, you may not be a devil anymore, but I found out 2 things, your life and magic force is better, or should I say beyond better than after you absorbed the vanishing dragon's power, and 2, you absorbed the full power of the white dragon and devil power. Meaning you made a vanishing dragon balance breaker, but only a fraction of it, so you now have a lot of power in that case, but there could be problems made by having it, though a fair warning, your transformation is not done yet, so you better be careful, and you should hide for now. Drake answered Issei's question, causing Issei to nod his head a bit at the information he has gotten. This will be interesting, Drake. It will be some weird journey to live my life the way I want to live it, Issei claimed with a smile, as he took his first few steps to a new future, one where he can now make his own choices and decisions as a dragon. Yes, it will, but I found something out, and you might want to train for this to work. Drake told Issei one more time, making Issei confused. Alright, tell me as we walk, and when I mean as we walk, I mean me, or I if you want the most proper grammar, Issei replied with a shrug of his shoulders, as he exited his balance breaker before fell to the ground by tripping on his own feet, causing Drake to laugh. Shut up, Drake, Issei growled before he stood up while also dusting himself off, before he went to continue his journey to the nearest town, while also dealing with the laughing Drake was making, leading Issei to grumble about stupid dragons and such. Man, I must be crazy to steal a book of spells from the god of destruction, but another part of me is telling me to take the challenge, since I am the 3rd strongest in the world now, but first I need to hold my breath, I am still not strong enough to. The figure thought who was a teen boy around 17, but it is hard to tell since the boy was around 6'4", with a strange mix of hair that is mainly brown, with a silver and gold glow, and some strands are a mix with the brown which were black and white, and finally, the tips on his bangs were ruby red, and his hair was somewhat covering his left eye. But it only covers actually a part of a white mask that had a thin line and 2 holes for the eyes, but looked until you looked closely to see that his right eye was blue and his left eye was green. He wore a black coat that lower part bends back, black jeans, black combat boots, a black belt with a grey buckle, and what you can kinda see is a blood red shirt. With 2 guns hanging on the sides of his waist, he also wore 2 black fingers fewer gloves that, and in his right hand was a black book, but the figure was broad at his thoughts when something exploded. Come out wherever you are, I may not sense you or feel your power, but that does not mean anything to me, Shiva, the god of destruction. The new person named Shiva called out. He was a bit pale, with no shirt, only baggy blue pants, and no shoes, but his hair was a mix of green and black, but he looked to be around 14 or 15 at the most. But soon Shiva sighed and blasted a ball of energy in a random location and destroyed half of his home, and yes, they were fighting at his home. But before he knew it, he was punched in the face by a white gauntlet and then a red one which sent him into a wall. Boost. Divide. 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 Hope this buys me some time, the masked figure muttered, before blasting a red and white beam at Shiva, and once he was done he quickly ran out of the room as fast as he could and opened up a portal to escape, but unknown to the masked boy, Shiva was watching him with interest. That hurt. In time that boy might become stronger than me, I can't wait, so I will let him keep that book, so good luck, Red Dragon Emperor. Shiva spoke to himself with a small grin as he entered his home, which was starting to rebuild itself. But the masked boy. Shit, lucky break. Okay, I am in Europe, not the best place to be, but it is good for now. I really can't get caught since of last time. Stealing a book of spells and taking another holy sword, one that goes against Excalibur, and everyone wants to kill you. The masked man thought with a chuckle and brought out a grey hood that was inside of his coat and placed it on top of his head so that he can be a bit hidden. He also made both of his gauntlets disappear as he walked in the streets as everyone was looking at him and thinking he was a wacko or something, except for one person, a blonde woman who watched him. But suddenly felt a surge of energy for a second that she was familiar with and summoned a small magic circle and called someone and started to follow the man, which he noticed. Partner, you have to hurry and get out of here. You've been out on your own for 3 months, fighting gods, been training in real life, and dreams physically and mentally. Then there is the fact that a voice spoke in the masked man's mind, but the boy just sighed. I know, Drag, I know what I did, and I know that someone is following me, but what am I supposed to do? The place we are, it has too many people around to do something. Even if I wanted to, you have to consider the fact that if I call out something in my pocket dimension, then that would make the police come and question me about how I did what I did. Then that angel literally will use the information the police give out to find me, but if I do nothing, then the backup will come and send me to heaven or hell to get back at me for all the stuff I did. Plus I am tired after the adventure we had. Wait, I got something. The masked boy replied in his thoughts as he entered a nearby alley, which the woman still followed him, but was shocked to see that he disappeared. That is till an explosion appeared, and she realized that it came from the roof of the buildings she was by, and the second that happened, 10 pure white wings appear from her back as she flew to the top of the building to see the masked man next to a hole that was created next to his feet, and in front of him were some people he did not want to see. You know, if you give up right now, a man spoke sternly, but the masked man just raised a hand to stop the person from talking. Do not try, Azazel, Michiel, Graphia, Seraphol, Gabriel, Serziches, you can say anything. You are just pissed that I stole some spell books and destroyed a shit ton of devils, angels and fallen, but hey, they were a part of that terrorist group that you are against. The masked man shouted at them, making the now identified people all look at him with a raised eyebrow from what he said. That is funny coming from the assassin, bounty hunter, and the guy who kicked Thor's ass. I find what you are saying true, yet hard to believe, since you help both the good and bad people in this world, Azazel stated in an amused tone, making the masked man sweat drop at what the fallen angel just said. Well, later. The masked boy spoke as he fired a fireball at the group and backflipped to the nearest building around and turned around and started running, not even looking back to see what is going on, but dodged some light spears and multiple elemental attacks, but one blew his mask off when he did not pay attention, making him growl, and used magic to make fog appear, blinding his attackers. And once the fog disappeared, they noticed the boy they were after was gone. Not again. Mo. I was supposed to see Sotan today, after that gathering with the other peerages when confronting the elders seemed to mess her up, that, and to wish her luck with her match against your sister Serziches. Especially when 2 of her members like Issei. Searful whinnied, but Serziches just sighed and shook his head to what she said as a depressed look started to appear on his face when the mention of his sister appeared in the conversation. Your sister would win anyway, Serafal. After all, Rias has not been the same since Issei disappeared, and I can't say I disagree with the way he acted. I feel sorry for her. Everyone is not even trusting her, but the only people that are friends at the moment in her group are Asia, Zenobia, and Gaspar. The rest are too depressed to even try anything. And the scar your ace left was not helpful, Michiel Serzic said with a narrowed eye look aimed at the angel, making Michael sigh with a worried look appearing on his face when his ace was mentioned. I know, but she is far worse. She has almost become emotionless, and the only thing keeping her in where she is her belief in God. But that is all we tell anyone about Irina's problem. In actuality, there are says that she is better, and days that she is worse. She barely eats, sleep, she barely even rests until she is out of gas, if I am saying that right, but how much she eats is based on her mood. On good days it is light that it makes someone think she is going on some strange diet that is unhealthy. But on a bad day one bite, and that is it for the day, and the training is another thing. It is like that 24/7, and on missions, she questions people in the town she is in on information, and we had to hide the health problems the people she has hurt, Michiel replied in a depressed tone, causing everyone to look at him with wide eyes, even Azazel, who was tinkering with a machine. He had looked at him in shock. What? Why did you not tell me or the others? We could have found a way to help. Gabriel exclaimed in a hurt tone, though the pained look that Michiel was giving said otherwise. No, nothing would have helped. She is in pain from love. I talked to her father about this, and let me tell you, he was angry about what happened to Issei, and he understands why Issei did it. Added to that, he told me he understands what Issei was going to do, but when I asked he gave me no response. Though he did tell me that from the what things sound like it was like when they first moved away, Irina was lifeless almost, her parents got her through it, and she made a promise to go back to Japan and meet Issei again, and hopefully tell him about her feelings that she developed over the years. Now she can't do that, she does not know where he is. She also felt hurt that she did not know about Issei's pain. Now the only person that can save her is Issei himself, Michiel replied in a depressed tone that was shared by everyone around, but just a few seconds later Azazel just whistled towards them, and he had a smirk on his face that showed happiness, joy, and excitement, which was making everyone else confused to why he was acting like he is now. Azazel, what are smirking about? Gabriel asked, wondering about what the fallen knows, since he had this aura around him that just shouted out that he knew something that they did not know. But everyone's confusion soon turned to shock when they all saw Azazel was hold up a mask, but not just any mask, but the mask of the man that they have been chasing. This was the guy's mask, and I scanned it, and some other stuff, with this device I made a few months ago to help with the investigation to find Issei by using his DNA. You see, by just getting a sample of someone's DNA, any type of method of getting it I might add, I can now know where the person from the scan is in a 10-mile radius. Azazel explained with a beepy smirk appearing on his face, making the others look at him with surprise in their eyes. Really? Did you get anything else, like a name perhaps, or can the device not do that? Grafia asked with wonder appearing in her voice, which Azazel's grin looks like one of an idiot that was in a candy store. Yep, and if we play our cards right, then well, it will lead to something good, something that will be so grand that your jaws will drop, Azazel explained with a grin of mischief, which was starting surprising everyone, since they did not see this side of Azazel for a few months. But before anyone could ask why what would make their jaws drop, so he said. He began to fly off towards the water, which they started to follow when they saw him speeding up, though they were a bit hesitant on doing so, because they were going towards someplace without any information. A few minutes later. Are you sure this is the place, Azazel? Serafal asked with a small shiver, but Azazel just walked past her, ignoring her completely, and opened the door to an abandoned storage place for ships, which was a shipyard that seemed to be rebuilt a bit, making it seem a bit homier if it was possible to describe the place, and once he did, he looked around and saw something shiny pointing at him, causing him to swear before jumping to the side to avoid a few bullet shots, making the rest of the group to go hide and take cover from the assault of bullets coming at them until it all stopped. We come in peace. No tricks, no nothing, we just want answers for all the things you did, since they must be reasonable, and I want to know how you are doing. After all, it has been a long time since you've seen any of us, isn't that right, Issei? Azazel spoke out loud, trying to make their attacker calm down with a simple conversation, but he made everyone that was in his group look at him with a stunning look on their faces when he mentioned Issei's name, but they brought out of their thoughts when they heard a chuckle, and the second it was heard, some movement was heard as well, causing everyone to look at the person with wide eyes, seeing that it was Issei that they were after, who had a gun that he put at his side when he realized it was useless to use it. But the three women blushed at seeing what he looked like without a coat on, since he gained some muscles, while the men looked at him with impressed looks when they saw what he looked like now. I should have guessed you found me, Azazel. It honestly took a while longer than what I expected, but that is beside the point now, I suppose. So you all want something to eat. Got some pizza, there is meat, plain. Issei trailed off after making a bit of small talk, making everyone look at each other, to which in a few minutes everyone was eating pizza from the different choices that Issei said, with some crazy bread on the side, but as they were eating Azazel noticed something on another table, and smiled when he squinted his eyes for a second, to get a better look at what it was. I see you took a hobble into math and science, after seeing a bunch of calculations which I have to admit is impressive, after all the stuff I am seeing so far is high-level stuff for someone to understand. Azazel spoke with a small smirk appearing on his face, but everyone can see the look of joy in his eyes when he said this, which made Issei roll his eyes playfully as he looked at Azazel for a moment. Well, I need to do something other than survive, plus those are copies of spells from that I've gotten, and ways to increase what they can do, how much energy and such, since I want to learn ways, so that my attacks come out stronger than they should be. Sadly enough they all say the same thing, and on a completely unrelated note, though here are the books I took. Issei replied with a blank look on his face, as he handed the leaders of the three fractions a bunch of books that he made appearances in his hands, causing everyone to look at Issei in surprise when they saw him making the books appear in his hands. You have your pocket dimension. Interesting, not many people focus on the concept, and they have a hard time trying to do this, since not a lot of people don't use this magic a lot. Grafia commented, making Issei give her a small smile, as he handed his work out to the others so that they can look at it and the books that he had borrowed for a while. Yay, well you kinda need one when you went through all the shit I went through, still counting all the times I have been almost killed from the beginning to now. Issei started with a small tilt of his head as he was deep in thought, while the females looked at him with wide eyes when he said this, but the three males were a bit interested with the work that they had in their hands. Do you want to help with research for all three factions? I mean, with all of this work I believe that you can help with the advancement of a lot of the subjects that we have not finished yet. Surziches asked Issei with a small smile appearing on his face, which Issei replied by looking at everyone blankly, showing that he was in deep thought about what Surziches just asked him. If I get paid, yes, after all, I need money so I can live and all that, Issei answered bluntly, making the three leaders look at each other and nod since they agreed with Issei's condition about money. You got yourself a deal. The three spoke in sync, making Issei grin and shake their hands one at a time, proving that he was in full agreement with working with A when it came to the research and all that they had in store for him when it is something related to the topic, but Serafal started to cough a bit to get their attention. Making Issei look at her with a raised eyebrow, wondering what was up with Serafal. Something up? Issei asked with a raised eyebrow still up as he looked at the strongest female devil in the underworld, but Serafal looked at him with a serious look that now appeared on her face, making Issei tense, and unknowingly to everyone he slowly had a hand close to his gun that was in its holster. Even now it is great to see you again, you still killed, Serafal started, but Issei stopped her by placing one finger on her lips, since now he knew where this conversation was going towards, which also led to him leaving his gun alone for the moment, causing her to blush a bit at the contact, as Issei pulled a bag of papers out from his pocket dimension, earning a few looks from everyone. Here are reports of all the stuff about the people I killed did, examples are for breaking multiple laws, etc. I honestly do not want to explain it all, since it would take us all night to even get through half of the shit in there. Now is there anything else I need to know about or even discuss, or can we please finally finish eating the pizza? Issei questioned in an annoyed tone appearing in his voice, to which Grafia nodded her head. Yes, if this is an agreement to help us, you need to return to Japan, and besides our stuff there is other stuff there that you need to settle, Grafia explains with a neutral look appearing on her face, making Issei glare at her with a dark look that appeared in his eyes, causing her to flinch a bit when she felt the intensity of the glare that he aimed at her. If you are talking about Rias, Akeno, Kaneko, and Kiba, then you know there will only be a chance that I will forgive three of them mostly, but I do miss my parents and everyone who was not an ass to me, which is a short list, but still I care about those people, plus I do need the education, because half of the things I do now or want to do requires me to have proof that I graduated. Plus there is Asia, Zenobia, and Gasper, I want to see how they are doing. Alright, you got a deal, but get Irina to go to school there too, and let me invite someone to go to school there, and you got for sure have a deal. Issei mused to himself a bit before he agreed with the conditions that he was given, making the group sigh for different reasons, but they were overall glad that Issei agreed with returning to Japan, except for one person. Fine, but you have to go to a party, Serafal added suddenly, causing everyone that wanted Issei to return to Japan to look at her with wide eyes filled with horror, while Issei just raised one eyebrow at what she said. I am not wearing a suit, I hate wearing those things, Issei stated with a blank look appearing in his eyes, making everyone except Serafal look at him in shock, all while Serafal nodded her head a bit when he said this. Never said you had to wear a suit, you just need to be there, and that is all, Serafal claimed with a smile on her face, making Issei smile a bit as he nodded his head to what she said. Fine, better than nothing. No, seriously, I have nothing better to do. After all the time it takes for me to finish all the packing I need to do will just take a few minutes or an hour or two at least, Issei replied with a small smile as he kissed Seraphal's hand, making the leaders and Grafia chuckle, as Seraphal blushed a bit from the sudden kiss to her hand, but Gabriel looked a bit mad. Though the reason she was left the angel a bit confused, so she mentally decided to go talk with her queen and a few others when she returned home. A few hours later after the leaders left. You can stop hiding now. Issei called out loud just after his guest has left, which as soon as he said that two people came out of the shadows nearby, and Issei looked at them with an amused look on his face. Both were women with black hair, one was wearing a black kimono, and the other was wearing black skinny jeans, a black top, and black combat boots, though the thing that he knew would catch people's attention was the fact that the first girl he looked at had cat ears and two cattails, along with cat-like hazel eyes. While the other girl had violet purple-like eyes that would catch anyone's attention. You know it will get interesting from here on out, right? One of the two girls claimed, making Issei smirk a bit when this was said since he knew it was the girl with violet purple-like eyes that said this. I know, but it will be fun, after all. There is a bunch of stuff that needs to be settled soon, rather than later, isn't that right, Raynare? Kuroka, Issei replied with a grin, as he looked at both girls who smiled at him, knowing that he is right about what he said. Flashback 1 month after leaving. Nice work, partner, you've done well so far, learning new magic, training yourself physically and mentally, as well as learning skills and abilities from the past users of the boosted gear, and even somehow got the user of the orb, which is a past successor of the vanishing, to teach you some things that, and it has only been a month. Drake spoke in Issei's mind, who was wearing the same clothes he is wearing in the present, only a bit smaller, and his hair was still brown, but it was covered by a hood at the moment. True, but I can still get stronger. All I know is the magic of the 3 fractions, and I was able to learn them all by absorbing energy that is fused with my body due to them being close to me at the time, yet there is more I want to learn. I must prove to myself and to others that I am strong. So I can protect the innocent, since no other fraction will get involved in other races' affairs or problem, but now as a dragon, well, it funks the rules. I am a dragon now, bitches. Issei told Drake and thought in a humorous way, causing Drake to chuckle a bit from Issei's claim, knowing that he is right, but they both stopped when they saw a bunch of guys attacking a girl with black hair and some ripped up clothes, but with Issei's advanced smell, he knew that they did not rape her yet. Though he can tell that they were getting close to doing so due to him smelling the men's arousal, which pissed Issei off greatly when he noticed this. Come on, girl, you said that you are not afraid to die, yet you are shaking in fear. The guy closest to the girl spoke, but what he did not know was that the girl was not scared, but instead was happy that she was going to die, which was an odd thought for anyone to think of. As the group of guys were going to finish the job they started, one of them got a punch in the face, making that guy fly into a wall and get knocked out. Then it was a kick to another guy who collided with the rest of the gang that was attacking the girl and knocked them down. Which scared the ones that were still standing, and in a few seconds they were all running off as if the devil was chasing them, causing Issei to scoff a bit before looking at the girl and got concerned when he saw her shaking, yet for some reason he felt as if he knew her. Are you alright? Issei asked the girl, who was still shaking a bit, but it was obvious that she was mad more than scared, which Issei realized the second he looked at her hands, which honestly confused Issei greatly when the realization came and that the girl was a man, not scared. Why? I have been waiting to die. I don't deserve to live. I can't live knowing I hurt someone who gave me love but destroyed it. I funked up and he probably hates me. I have been planning all these months, I say. Months, and not even one time I have not even got close to ending my life. The girl yelled, lifting her face, causing Issei to stop breathing at realizing who it was. Strangely enough, he almost mistaken her for a Keno, but he soon realized that was not the case, since even though they had similar looking features he knew who this was, the one person that started the whole shithole of a devil life he had, and it was also his first girlfriend. Raynare, though there was doubt he had to admit that she looked like Raynare. Issei calmed himself the second he started to feel rage trying to consume him, and he looked at her with a look that without his mask, she would end up being confused about the facial expressions he was making. If I may ask, who is this person you are talking about? Issei asked with a bit of confusion and somehow hope. It was small, but he had a small amount of hope that she did not hate him at all, though his question seemed to be making Raynare look at him with tears in her eyes and a look of confusion added to it. He was a boy from Japan, he was sweet, even if he was a pervert. Raynare started with an annoyed yet found look appearing in her eyes, causing Issei to hiss a bit in the back of his mind, knowing that he could have been less of a pervert as he grew up from a kid to where he went through the second biggest change of his life, and that is becoming a dragon. It was a great first date, and I have regrets about how it ended with me killing him, but it was later found not he was not dead. Raynare continued, as Issei grabbed his stomach, feeling an old ghost-like feeling of being stabbed in the gut. My god, I wish that I could go back in time and stop myself from killing him, and maybe things might be better, but I made it worse by killing a good friend of his. Oh. I funked up, I ruined my chance with a great guy just to prove myself. Why was I so self-centered? Raynare wailed and cried into her knees, and Issei knew that this was for sure the girl that he had his first girlfriend, making him feel happy and sad that she was in pain, but soon he felt pain seeing her like this, and hugged her, making her surprised that this guy she just met was hugging her, but it surprised her how open she was with this guy, but her heart told her to relax. Don't worry Raynare, I forgive you, Issei told her as he took off his mask, making Raynare gasp and cry into his shoulder, while Issei hugged her and let her cry into his shoulder. Flashback end. Yeah, that was not a pleasant time when I checked for injuries, seriously she had so many cuts, bruises, and sore body parts that, amazingly, she is still here standing in front of me. Well, sitting in this case, hell, it took a lot of time and resources to even find all the stuff to just fix all the things she did to hurt herself both mentally and physically, and you know what, this is all happening just from Rias having really bad aim, which is funny now that I think about it, or so I think, because I am 100% sure that she did kill her, so did someone did something. Or is there something else going on here? Issei thought while looking at Raynare with a thoughtful look appearing on his face, the more he thought about the situation of how she returned, all while Raynare was eating some pizza with Kuroka. Ice, what those people doing here? Raynare asked Issei with a tilt of her head, snapping Issei out of his thoughts, before he awkwardly rubbed the back of his head a bit. They want me to help with research, and I told them about the people I've killed, but the main reason is that they want me to head back to my hometown, and this is all because they found me due to them getting a lucky shot and managed to get my mask taken off, Issei answered awkwardly, making both girls blink in surprise as they tried to process what he just said. But no matter how much they tried, they were just too shocked to process anything. But both girls muttered in shock, which Issei just nodded his head at the two girls before he stood up from where he was sitting. Yay, so now I got to go pack some things up and all that, so then we can make a house or buy one in Japan at my hometown, but after that, I have to head to the underworld for that dame party. And Kuroka doesn't get close to where I am, cause every time I'm there you always come and do something that ends up with us fighting in combat, which leads to us dance fighting, which is weird if you think about it, but anyway, does not get close to that party, no matter what, Issei spoke in a strict tone of voice, all while he was sending Kuroka a look. Making her look at him as she noticed the look he was giving her, the stink eye look. I do not know what you are talking about, Kuroka claimed with an innocent look appearing on her face, causing Issei to sigh in tiredness, knowing that if he presses on with the subject, he might lose his sanity, just trying to prove a point to Kuroka. Whatever, let's just finish this food, which is shocking that even with the number of people that were here, could not even finish the rest of the food we had, Issei grumbled, making both girls laugh at him since he was, in their eyes at least, doing an adorable pout. By the time of the party. Who are you? A security man spoke to Issei, who was wearing all the clothes he had when he was running away from the three fraction leaders, the strongest women in hell and heaven, and Graphia, though when the man addressed him, Issei twitched when he realized that none of the guards was told of his arrival. Surzich's invited me, now move or I will move you myself, Issei growled in annoyance, but the guy just scoffed at Issei, thinking that he was just trying to be a tough guy and all that. Yeah right, the guy started, but was a punch in the gut by Issei, making him limp as he fell to the ground in pain, then he soon blacked out the moment he touched the ground, and once that was done, Issei went inside the building he was supposed to go in, which he soon found an elevator after a short walk, then went inside it and went to the floor where the so-called party was at. He made it and walked through the hall, not giving any care if anyone saw him, but he stopped when he heard a bunch of talking, which led him to a room with a bunch of young devils dressed in nice clothes, but Issei also noticed that a fight might happen, as he saw two people in the middle of the room arguing at most, but it was settled down when the music started. And both sides growled a bit before going their ways, making Issei chuckle a bit at the sight, but he stopped when someone taps his shoulder, and he looked over his shoulder to see Serafal smiling at him. It is good to see you are here, Ice-kun. Serafal spoke softly, making Issei chuckled a bit and gave a small bow. Well, I know we're better to be tonight, so if I am right, Surzich's, Azazel, and Michiel are here and want to see me? Issei asked her, as she locked arms with him but frowned a bit. Yes, and Gabriel as well, and another Mao that you will work with here and there who's smart, hopefully, no one from another faction will be here, well, people from another faction that are traitors, and such. Serafal spoke in a voice that was known as her business tone of voice, making Issei sigh at those words. Knowing my crappy luck, I am not holding my breath if that would be the case, Issei muttered, annoyed about the subject at hand, causing Serafal to nod her head in agreement as she too hated the subject at hand. Yay, but we made sure no one would come here today, so you at least have till tomorrow since Rias and Sona will have a rating game against each other in the competition. Serafal spoke cheerfully, but stopped in an instant when she spoke Ria's name and began to get nervous about how Issei will react, which Issei ignored completely and just thought of the subject that she brought up. I am betting your sister will win, Serafal, and I bet the rest who know I would agree, Issei claimed darkly, which Serafal had to sadly agree with him. After all, with what happened no one was the same, since everyone went through some changes, both good and bad. That is something I have to agree with you. Serafal started with a sigh, but stopped when someone began to start shouting out loud, making both her and Issei look around to see who was shouting since the voice sounded familiar. Yo. Emperor. Serafal. Over here. Azazel called out to the two, causing everyone to look at the two, which made everyone look at Issei, wondering who he was, but he did not pay attention as he saw the one person he wanted to kill, due to his dragon instinct starting to act up. But he stopped himself from doing so and looked at a girl a year older than him with red hair, which the left part of her hair covered the left side of her face and was meant to stay there, making Issei raise an eyebrow at that, but he just ignored it and saw who else was around and sighed at seeing all the people he was a part of a peerage with there by a table, but then looked and saw Sona's group. Though he noticed that two people were sad, one was Saji and the other was. Hey, there, Emperor. Nice to see that you came to the party. Azazel told Issei, who was brought out of his thought and looked at Azazel, wondering how he was moved here to this spot in a matter of a few seconds, though he soon realized that it had only been 3 minutes, causing him to be somewhat embarrassed, but he mentally shook it off and looked at Serafal, who was glaring at Gabriel, who joined the group after getting a drink from somewhere nearby, for some reason. Like I told Serafal, I had nothing better to do. Now I heard that someone wants to meet me, Issei replied with a shrug, as a man that looks about the same height as Surzich's with slick back hair, with a lime-like green robe, yet his aura was almost a match to Surzich's own, probing that this man was someone you have to be careful about. Especially when Issei noticed that this man was examining him as if to judge every single action he did to find some weakness. That would be me. I am Ajuka Beelzebub, and I heard that you are doing research that is similar to mine, Red Dragon Emperor. The man named Ajuka told Issei while whispering the last part with a raised hand and a small smile on his, which Issei shook and showed thankfulness by nodding his head for keeping the last part in a low whisper. Yes, that would seem to be the case. It is a hobby of mine, as well as other things, Issei replied, muttering the last bit under his breath, which no one seemed to hear, and from there him and Ajuka, Azazel, and Michelle talked about research and other thing related to the topic, while Gabriel and Serafal were talking in low voices so that no one can hear them. But Grafia and Surzich's were talking, and neither of them really seemed happy about something, and after a bit of time later, Issei went to get something to drink until he noticed two things. One was Kaneko walking out of the room, and the second thing he noticed was a faint energy source that he knew who it was from, causing him to sigh and decided to follow Kaneko. A few minutes later. It has been a long time since we have seen each other, has it? A voice spoke, making Kaneko look at the top of a tree to see her sister laying on a branch looking at her with a glow that appeared in her eyes to show she was happy to see Kaneko again, but this fact was unknown to Kaneko herself. Kaneko frowned with a small scowl appearing on her face, making Kuroka has a hurt look in her eyes for a second before they turned back to one of glee to hide her sadness, while Issei sat on a tree nearby, looking to see what would happen between the two and to make sure neither of them did something stupid till he senses two more people nearby. And a third being, which made him grin a bit as he sensed the last being, since the being he felt made Drake chuckle, added to the fact that it was an energy signature he was familiar with. After all, it was draconic. Do not give me that face, Shirin. It is not nice to grate your big sister like that, Naya, Kuroka told Kaneko with a lazy grin, but all she got from Kaneko was just a blank look on her face, along with discomfort for hearing her real name after so long. Though unknown to them, it was making Issei have a smirk on his face when he noticed the twitch that appeared on Kuroka's face when she did not hear anything from Kaneko immediately, but it was not one of annoyance, no, it was one filled with worry, which caused Issei to chuckle deep within his mind. What are you doing here? Kaneko asked as she tried to keep a blank look on her face, causing Kuroka to have a big grin on her face when she almost saw some emotion appearing in Kaneko's voice, making Issei and a certain red-haired guest look at her curiously. Issei, because he knew that Kuroka can be sneaky when she wanted to, after all. It usually takes him using all of his effort to just notice where she is by searching for her energy signature, so he was curious to know why she would reveal herself, while Reunited, who was nearby, was looking at the conversation, wondering why Kuroka was here. That is simple. I heard there was a party here, so I decided on a plan to take you and come with me, and if you are lucky, well, that will be told later, Naya, Kuroka told Kaneko in a cheerful tone, with a small blush appearing on her cheeks, all while Kaneko raised an eyebrow as she saw her sister blush, since her sister, for as long as she knew her, she never blushed like that without a reason. So this is why you wanted to come here? A voice belonging to a male questioned out loud, which Kuroka lazily looked at the newcomer, not caring a bit about the male's arrival or anything of the sort involving him. Yes, I do believe that Vali will allow her to join, since she has the same power as me, Biku, Naya Kuroka answered with a grin, making the man know as Biku shrug his shoulders. No. I will not allow you to take Kaneko. A voice yelled, and a red-haired female wearing a red dress came with furious red energy surrounding her, who happens to be Rias, but it just made Kuroka look at her darkly with eyes filled with hate. As this happened, though, she started to leak out some killer intent at Rias, who was now scared along with Kaneko, since she felt nothing like this before from her sister. I do not think you are a good person for my sister to be around, since after what happened to your ex-pawn, Kuroka growled out with venom appearing on in her voice. She did not even dare to say her usual Naya at the end sentence, which shocked Biku, since he never heard Kuroka growled with so much venom that appeared in her voice. While Kaneko and Rias took a step back as Kuroka's killer intent started to increase, but unknown to them, her hair started to flash to a different color for a second. You know that I do not like that you are around where I need to do a job, Kuroka. I even told you many times, yet you seem to ignore my warnings. I mean, I know that me coming here was not as important as everything else that I do, but still. Issei spoke and jumped to the ground, shocking everyone, since they did not even notice him at all from the tree he was hiding in. All except for Kuroka, who smiled a bit when she saw him. True, but maybe I just do it to gain your attention, Naya Kuroka purred with a lust-filled look that appeared on her face, which Issei chuckled a bit when he saw that look on her face, making everyone confused in seeing how the two know each other. So then you want to fight? Even knowing how strong I am? Issei asked, flaring out a small bit of senjutsu, along with other energies, shocking everyone except Kuroka again, who called out her senjutsu out, along with some kai and magic. Kuroka, it would be a good idea to get out of here. Even with a barrier out, I know that this guy is just holding back just to match your full power, Biku told Kuroka with a worried look, but he also had a look that says he wants to battle Issei as well. But Kuroka just shook her head to what he said, which shocked him a bit since Kuroka looked a bit too eager to fight the man in front of them. I know I cannot get my sister, but I want to fight him for a reason, something that only I can get, because I know him, and he is a great person for me to do this with, so come at me, Naya Kuroka claimed out loud in joy, causing Issei to grin, like the three that were not fighting, looked as if they were going to join to stop the one that was not on there. But before they could, they were stopped when a fireball came down and hit the ground near them. I never thought that the Dragon King Tannen would come here. I told you would not come to this event, since you would probably have a bunch of other things that you could do than be here, but I guess I was wrong, Issei claimed with a chuckle, making said dragon look at him for a second in interest, but added to that he also had a look of familiarity when he looked at Issei. Which Issei just chuckled and gave out a pulse of energy, which the Dragon King noticed and immediately noticed to Issei, leading him to grin at Issei, to which soon Tannen started to burst out in laughter. I should say the same to you, but I think this can be a discussion for another time. We do have opponents to face after all, so I will allow you to fight the cat while I fight the monkey. Tannen told Issei with a smirk, making Issei look at him with an amused look appearing on his face, but Tannen can't tell that he was amused due to how Issei was standing. Whatever, old man, as long as you do not interrupt my fight, then I do not care if you blow the whole damn place to smithereens, Issei claimed with an uncaring tone of voice, making the Dragon King burst out in laughter. Which made Issei smirk under his mask before he became serious and charged at Kuroka and started to throw punches and kicks with a few his moves. If one looks carefully, they could see that he was shuffling and making cross-like movements. It was as if he was mixing dancing and fighting together carefully, yet also perfectly. Bull Kuroka, on the other hand, dogged and tried to send some attacks back at Issei by using some moves of flexibility, with solid high kicks that were easy to flex and move in the air, all while Issei dogged and showed that he was slowly advancing towards Kuroka every second, with one foot in front of the other while shuffling towards her, as she did the reverse since she was slowly backing up. Only to do dirty attacks and take a strike at his groin, to be denied by Issei, since he grabbed her arm and pushed his back leg, which was his right leg, back, causing both of them to slide to the ground where Kuroka was sitting on her knees, as Issei was well balanced and was on one knee, as his right foot extended back. But this done, Issei pulled both of her arms up so that her hands were around her face, to which Issei started to slowly push her back, causing Kuroka to be nervous, since now Issei took this chance to quickly swing his right leg to knock Kuroka off balance, but that led to her jumping and getting into Issei's arms, before quickly rolling off and did a backflip when she landed. Before the two continued their fight, though as this was just happening, Tannen was just shooting fireballs at Biku, who was riding a cloud, dodge all the fireballs with a laugh coming out of his mouth, but as Rias and Kaneko were watching the ex-Dragon King trying to attack Biku, they noticed something strange about Issei's fight with Kuroka. You know, as I look at those two, I can't help but see that their fight is acting more like a dance than anything even related to a fight, Rias commented with a surprised look appearing on her face, and she was right about the way Issei, though she does not know it is him, and Kuroka were fighting. It looked more like a dance that was mixed with fighting than anything else. The Kaneko started before blinked a bit in confusion, since she saw her sister grabbing Issei by his collar to bring him close to her, Kuroka, and made sure that his back was facing the two girls that were watching the fight before she lifted his mask a bit, only to kiss him a second later, causing Issei to become a bit tense for a few seconds as this happened, before he melted into the kiss. But both showing passion as far as they know into the kiss, making both girls' jaws drop at the sight, but soon Biku had the same reaction, but eyes widen even further when he saw a bit of Issei's face, making realized a fast connection to where he saw a face similar, and soon started to grin and realization came to his head. An interesting side, I must admit, but Kuroka, Biku, it is time to head back. A voice spoke up, causing Rias and Kaneko to look towards where the voice came from, with a look of shock appearing on their faces, while the voice caused Kuroka to groan in annoyance about what was about to happen. Though it made Biku grin a bit on the mischief side, when the thought of telling everyone what he saw came to mind, as Issei heard the voice he grabbed his mask and put it back on to cover his face, and looked at the new person. It was a blonde man, who was wearing glasses, a fine high-class suit, and strangely enough had a sword in his hands which pulsed out a large amount of holy energy, causing anyone that had some sort of dark or demonic energy in them to flinch when they looked at the sword, though when Issei looked at it, he realized what the sword was. A sword user, huh? And you have Excalibur ruler, interesting, I might challenge you to a sword fight sometime in the future. Issei claimed in a challenging tone of voice, causing the guy looked at him then looked at Kuroka, knowing that she knew the male that he did not know was Issei, and gave her a look, which she knows as the one asking if someone is a powerful sword user. To which she nodded her head in agreement, making the man have a faint smile appear on his face for a moment. Then I look forward to the next time we meet, and Grimory tells your knights that I wish to duel them in the future. The man replied, as he, Biku, and Kuroka, who secretly gave wink towards Issei before she left, making him sigh at the situation he was going to be in, since Rias and Kaneko will rat him out to the higher-ups. I feel like this is the beginning of something that will lead to a long line of bullshit. Issei thought with a sigh before he looked at the sky with an annoyed look that was behind his mask, before he disappeared from Rias and Kaneko's vision, shocking the two once more, as Tannen chuckled a bit at what just happened, before leaving. I regret this decision, Surziches told everyone in the room he was in, who looked at him for a few seconds. Then why did you set this fight up? Gabriel asked him, only for him to sigh. Cause it was going to be an instant loss that Rias would suffer, so I thought I have our guest fight both her and Sona and their groups in a fight, but I forgot he is the third strongest in the world. Surziches answered, making everyone nod their head except a few. So why am I here? A close to emotionless voice spoke, making everyone wince and look at the person. It was Irina with her hair down and is wearing thick clothes to hide her figure. It was a really thick shirt that was white and baggy gray sweats, and her eyes were really cold. That is simple, Irina, this guest of ours will show his face, and let me tell you that you will be surprised, and I thought it would be nice to bring Dulio and Griselda along. Michael told Irina, who huffed, making the angel sigh, but looked at the two people he invited. Dulio was a boy that was Issei's age with blonde hair and green eyes, and is wearing some priest clothes, and Griselda was a woman that was around her early 30s, and is wearing a robe of some sort, with a hood covering her head, and all you could see was her face and blue eyes. So this guy is the new third strongest in the world, huh? So is he supporting us or something? Dulio asked, wondering about what this guy's connection is with the three leaders, which made the leaders smile at each other. Yes, if things can go well enough after this we might have the best chance in fighting the Cows Brigade. Heck, he was already interested in training a few people, but yes, he will help us if that is what you are asking. Azazel answered Dulio, who whistled at the response he got, while Griselda looked at Azazel wondering who this person was going to train. That is true, but I wish that he was not fighting my sister. Serafol complained, making a woman that looked to be close to the same beauty as Gabriel, but had black wavy hair that was a main part of was on the right side of her head, and amber eyes, and is wearing a red dress. This was Penemu, a fallen that works with Azazel. That is funny to hear from you, Serafol, considering you embarrass her a lot. Penemu claimed, making Serafol glare at her. Okay, you two don't do anything crazy now, we do not want to case a fight, like the one you two caused last time. Grafia told the two, which Serafol just gave a irritated look, as Penemu just gave a small smile. Well, this looks interesting. A voice spoke, making everyone look to see a bunch of people, making everyone that was already in the room eyes to widen, sign they were seeing gods from multiple fractions, making Azazel to laugh nervously. This is really surprising to see all the gods here. Aden, Zeus, been a while since we all talked, and Yusaka from the Yakai fraction with her daughter Kunu, and so on to others that are gods. Azazel spoke in an awkward voice as he looked at the new arrived people in the room, seeing many people with different hairstyles and colors with clothes that match where they are from, but someone giggled, making everyone confused and looked around, till they found the person. It was a girl with black hair, violet eyes, and is wearing black jeans with a dagger on her side, and on the top was a silver white sphere, and is wearing a black top, black gloves and shoes, and this person made Azazel gasp in shock. "Hi Dad, miss me?" The female spoke while pointing at Azazel, making Azazel gulp a bit, and everyone was just shocked about hearing that. Was shocked. Dad, everyone thought in shock, as Azazel was trying to process everything that is going on. Raynare, Azazel whispered. That was the only thing he could think of to say, which made an awkward atmosphere for everyone, even for everyone that just entered the room. "I will get more seats for everyone, as we wait for Ajuka and Falbium," Grafia told everyone before leaving, making Raynare grin. "Then that gives me time to give you guys the stuff my boyfriend took from your groups and traitors in your groups that you are unaware of." Raynare spoke, making every single being freeze at her words. "This is just getting strange." A woman with silver hair spoke, but Auden scoffed at her words. "Says the woman with no boyfriend yet, Roswis." Auden mocked, making the woman named Roswis cry into her knees, causing everyone to look at her with raised eyebrows. "This is interesting," Raynare thought with amusement, but unknown to her, Irina was looking at her with slightly narrowed eyes. "But the two devil groups. It is strange that at the last second we both have to work together against an opponent that neither of us know," Sona said to Rias, who looked at both hers and Sona's groups and sighed. "I know why. It is because Asia is more violent and is learning how to fight and learn very destructive magic. Then there is Zenobia not really trusting anyone at all, Akeno just shutting herself out, and Kiba and Kaneko just acting like they died inside and out, so they put both our groups together just so the match would be somewhat better, even after training not much change." Rias explained, which Sona sighed and looked at her. "So you noticed, huh? Well, that was to be expected really, and I really can't disagree, since Saji started acting different and I really can't tell if that is good or bad, that and you're touching the cut you got on that day, huh?" Sona started, then questioned what Rias was doing, but Rias was not paying attention. Flashback a few minutes after Issei left. Isay broke and Rias whispered in despair, with everyone looking shocked and saddened about what happened, except Irina, who gripped the weapon she had in her hand tightly in anger, which turned into rage and despair. "You will pay." Irina yelled and without thinking used her sword and slashed Rias on the left side of her face, shocking everyone. As everyone looked at Irina, they heard her breath hitch a bit, then breathe deeply and release her breath, making Zenobia look at her and gasp as she saw her friend crying her eyes out. "Rias was what Issei said," Truasia whispered, but it was enough for everyone to hear, and Rias was putting one hand on her cut face, since the slash Irina did hit her eye, but the look in her one good eye said it all, and Asia walked away stumbling a bit but kept on walking, and if you saw her eyes, you could see them as a lifeless green eyes. "Asia, where are you going?" Zenobia called out to her friend, but Asia kept on walking away. Home was all anyone could hear from the former nun as she disappeared from sight, and soon Irina stood up and walked away with tears still falling from her face, while Zenobia looked at both of them helplessly. Issei Sanapi Gasper muttered with tears in his eyes, while Kiba, Kaneko, and Akeno have hollow-looking eyes, and looked at the spot Issei was standing before disappearing through the portal he used, while Sona, Tsubaki, and Saji were saddened about the disappearance of Issei, as the leaders just looked at what just happened not knowing what to do. But knew that what just happened was a crappy way for peace to be made. Flashback end. Rias. Sona called her friend, who shook her head and looked at Sona. "Sorry, I was just lost in thought," Rias said in a distant tone, making Sona frown and looked at both of their groups. "I guess that makes sense, but rhyme to get your head in the game, Rias. We do not know who we are fighting, and we do not know what to do with rules that are preventing Gasper from using his sacred gear, but for some reason we can be as destructive as we want, and that makes me worried, since that could mean that who we are fighting can destroy everything. Because since we are at the store that is close to our school and many things here are easy to break, I thought the rules would be so that any power types, but what this says, it must mean that the person we are fighting is stronger than we thought." Sona explained to Rias, who looked a bit shocked and took the paper Sona was holding and read it. "But did Grafia give out the announcement already?" Rias asked Sona, who nodded her head and looked at both of their groups, as Rias just sighed. "We better get ready, so get your group ready," Sona told Rias, who flinched when she heard what Sona said. "No, how about we come up with a plan, then you tell everyone what to do, since Asia and Zenobia won't listen to me, and Gasper will just do anything to get away from me," Rias explained to Sona, who sighed at her friend's lack of confidence but nodded her head, unknown that someone was watching the two devil groups. "This will be boring," a person thought, as he remembered to what happened yesterday. Flashback yesterday. "So Issei, my sister happened to tell me what happened yesterday and what Kuroka did. Are you two dating?" Surziches asked Issei, who had his mask off, as they were both in Issei's room that Surziches had ready for him. "Yay, so? We were rivals in stealing and combat at first, but after a while we became close, and it led to me taking an interest in Kai, but hey, look at this book and you will see that she is not a criminal." Issei replied, but yelled at the end and threw a book at Surziches, who caught it and looked inside, and was shocked and disgusted about what he read. "Organic test subjects, I would have killed the man who planned this, but he already is dead. Fine, she is no longer a criminal in Devil Society, but she is one fraction wise, since we have reports that she is a part with Vali's team." Surziches claimed with narrowed eyes, but Issei gave him a lazy eye look. "She is also a spy of mine, how else was I able to get those traitors?" Issei countered, causing Surziches to blink before laughing, as Issei smirked at the Mao's reaction from the news he delivered. "And Vali does not know, that is funny, but to be serious I need your help. I can't let the Devil Society know about what Rias and her peerage are going through, so I have a plan that involves you to fighting both Rias and Sona's teams in a raiding game, as a test of put." Surziches started with joy, before becoming awkward, as Issei thought of what he just said for a second with a dark smirk appearing on his face, which made Surziches scared but calmed down, as Issei had a hardened look on his face and nodded his head. "Alright, but I will take some people to train, but other than that yes, only thing is I will not break them until I feel like it, I will test how they are now, so just a fair warning on what you will see," Issei explained, but Surziches had a wry smile on his face, as he heard what Issei said. Flashback end. "Alright, let's get this over with." Issei spoke with a bored tone with his mask covering his face, then opened a pocket dimension and pulled out a bow, and got an arrow ready and aimed at the group. Take note that I will use Issei's name since I really have a habit of writing it now. But the observers. "So his is the same man who has the bow that belonged to my last champion," a woman with silver hair spoke, and is wearing a white gown-like dress, making everyone except the Greek gods look at her in confusion. "Oh? What do you mean?" Surziches asked, a bit concerned about what she was saying, but the woman just glared at what they were watching, making Zu sigh and rubbed his forehead. "She is just made that he is using Toropolos to its fullest potential, and by that I mean that he is able to pull back the string all the way and not just halfway." Raynare teased, causing the woman to growl, but it made Azazel smile at seeing how his daughter teased a god with no fear. "Shut up." The woman spat with venom, making Zu sigh at his daughter Artemis. Back with the group of devils. "Okay, so the plan is that Gasper has a look around the area to look for whoever we are fighting, Momo and Ria will stay here to keep up the thought that me and Rias are here, and Asia will stay here as well to heal anyone that is injured, with Akeno staying for cover, as Kiba, Zenobia, Tomo, Yura and Tsubaki will travel to the parking lot to check if anyone is there, while Kaneko, Saji and Haruko will walk around to find the enemy." Sona explained the game plan, which everyone followed and agreed with her plan, except Asia, who really did not care and wanted to get this all over with, but they froze when they saw a giant magic circle appeared outside and multiple arrows being fired at them, leading them to do one thing: to take cover until there was no more arrows shot. "Impressive that you survived the attack, but to be honest that was the point," a voice called out, making everyone stand up and come out of the store they were in and saw a man wearing a black coat with a bow in his hands, which Sona gasped knowing what was bow and where it is from. "I do not know how to reply to that," Rias claimed, but Issei just ignored her and looked at everyone carefully and was slightly disappointed that he would not get a good fight, but then felt concern as he looked at Asia looking dead. "So where is the rest of your team? Obviously no sane person would come here by themselves in enemy territory," Sona stated, but Issei just yelled an S sound, which made everyone except Sona raise an eyebrow, wondering why he did that. "Wrong, it is only me you are fighting to win the raiding game, but I am insane in some rights, but the fight will be easy since almost half of you are being emotional still." Issei started before muttering the last bit so that no one can hear with a dark chuckle, as everyone was surprised to hear what he said, well except the second part, and looked at each other, but the moment all the devils were started looking at each other, Issei gained a very devious and dark idea that will cause a lot of madness and make some people happy and some will feel regret. "Why are you the only person we have to fight? It is strange even for all the Maus," Sona replied, causing Issei to chuckle a bit. "So simple-minded, Sona, you are the smartest person here, yet you ask that, but it is time to show you a reason why from a gift that I got from a boy your age," Issei mocked before speaking in a sinister-like voice, as he opened a pocket dimension and put his bow and arrows in it, then pulled out a sword that shocked everyone, and seeing their reactions, made Issei smirk from under his mask. "No" was all the group of devils could say, with tears started to form in their eyes, which made Issei cringe a bit as he saw Asia and Zenobia about to cry. But the observers. "Oh boy, either this will make them pissed off and kill him, or they will be broken emotionally, and I do not like those odds," Azazel muttered with a wince while looking at Raynare, who had a straight face, but her eyes looked like they lost the life in them. "What? Why does that guy have Ascalon? What did he do?" Issei Irina shouted while looking at the three leaders, who all did not look at her. Just watch and you have your answer, Irina, so please calm down. Michael told Irina, who just glared at him but sat down, making Dulio and Griselda look at her with raised eyebrows, but looked at the match, unaware that Raynare had a few tears threatening to fall. Flashback a week after Asia became a devil. Ugh, where am I? Raynare groaned in pain as she tried to sit up, but couldn't due to pain from her back and stomach, and she couldn't feel her arms, but noticed she is wearing a purple nightgown. Take it easy, dear, after all when I did find you had some cuts that were deep, not too deep to cause skin damage, but enough to hurt, even your wings were broken and had some feathers missing. The old woman spoke, she looked around 80 years old, made a bit younger, she had grey hair, sweet innocent blue eyes, and is wearing a grey shirt and brown pants, and she was surprisingly tall with a kind and gentle smile, making Raynare surprised that this woman did not think of her as a freak or did anything to her except treated her. If you do not mind, why did you help me? I could have done something bad, or I could have done something terrible, yet you helped me, why? Raynare asked the woman, who looked at her with a confused look before her eyes widened in realizing what Raynare was talking about. That is simple, but you might want to take a note on what I will tell you. You see, it does not matter at the moment if they did anything bad, but in certain situations, you can see what is in that person's heart. The woman answered Raynare, making the fallen raise an eyebrow in confusion. Then what did my heart say? Raynare asked once again, making the woman laugh. If I tell you, you won't learn anything, will you? You have to find out yourself, but for now I made some soup. The woman replied, causing Raynare to pout, but looked at her arms and was surprised to see a bracelet on her arm, the same one Issei got her on their first date, which made her heart ache for a second. That is a nice bracelet, reminds me of when me and my husband started dating, though me and him were not really friendly with each other, cause I was really serious at your age, well my husband really liked making jokes, I really missed that man. The woman spoke, making Raynare feel a sting in her heart to hear that. I am sorry for your loss, Raynare whispered, but the lady smiled at her. It is okay, may I know your name? You really have no idea or anything. The woman replied, making Raynare give a wry smile. Raynare, and may I ask who you are? Raynare answered before asking the woman her question, which made the woman smile. My name is Alice. Now besides names, let's talk about your sense of fashion, cause you really need to have a talk about it. The woman named Alice claimed, making Raynare groan in annoyance. A few months later. Raynare. Come inside, I made some lemonade. Alice called out, which Raynare, who is wearing a checker shirt that was red and black and blues jeans and is wearing black gloves, whipped her forehead and walked towards Alice. Thank you, Alice. Raynare told Alice, who nodded her head and gave Raynare a kind smile before taking her own glass of lemonade, but then looked at Raynare with interest. You know, I'm surprised you haven't left some people when they are better, but you stayed and tried to help around my farm, so why didn't you? Alice asked, making Raynare freeze and looked at her lemonade with an unsure look. I do not know, to be honest, I was tempted to, but something just told me to stay and try to repay you for everything you did for me, that and I have nowhere to really go. I mean, there is nowhere I can really go, and I really feel like I'm at home here, Raynare explained with a peaceful look, causing Alice to smile at Raynare. You know, usually people do things that is different from what they usually do from someone else, and that someone is a person they admire or fell in love with. Alice explained, which made Raynare stop and looked at the sky, then to her bracelet that Issei got for her on their first date and smiled a bit but looked sullen a bit, but the strange thing was that she did not know why she was feeling those emotions. A few days later. Alright, I got the stuff needed from the list, better head home, Raynare muttered as she started to walk to the home that she lived with Alice, but as she got closer and closer to her destination, she had a chill going down her spine, which made her uneasy, but once she did made it, she gasped as she saw that the place looked like someone decided to attack. Making her run into the house and found Alice on the floor with a blood poodle on the floor. Raynare, I am sorry that you have to see me like this, Alice spoke weakly while breathing hard, causing Raynare to look around in a panic. Don't worry. I will get a phone, something, we can get help, and Raynare quickly spoke with tears about to fall from her eyes, but as she was starting to cry, Alice put a hand on Raynare's cheek. Do not worry, it is my time, but I have to tell you, find the reason for your confusion of emotions, so please for my sake, Alice spoke softly, but her last words were barely a whisper, and Raynare could not hear Alice since she lost the last of her breath, making Raynare cry. If only I had. Now I know why I feel awful about trying to kill Asia, and I feel broken about killing Issei, since I know he won't forgive me, Raynare thought, making her cry harder than ever. Flashback end. Never, I won't let him die, I trained myself so far to be close to hold my own, I won't lose to anyone that will keep me away from him. Raynare thought with a fire in her eyes, which Azazel saw and was interested in knowing what caused it. Back to the battle. What did you to him, what did you do to Issei? Rias yelled, but Issei scoffed at her. Please, like you care, I know who you are and what he thinks about you, and let me tell you, they are nothing good, they are mostly ideas to give a shit ton of pain. Issei claimed with no emotion, making everyone wince, but it made Ria's heart sting. I don't care who you are, I am going to make you pay what you did to Issei. Zenobia yelled out in rage with tears about to attack, but was pushed to a wall by arrows attacking her and surrounded her body, and was sick to her clothes. Move and you will know what will happen, and to add to people stuck to a wall, look to your right. Issei spoke once again in a calm voice, which Zenobia did, and was surprised to see Asia in the same position as her, but Asia glared at Issei. But why did you? Rias started, but stopped when Issei was standing in front of the group, his sword pointing at them all, which scared them, since they did not even see him move at all. Let's make a deal, I will tell you what I know about the boy you are talking about and why I put those two on that wall and put them in a position that if they moved well, why explain, and all you have to do is knock this mask off my face. Issei said in a challenging tone, causing all the devils to raise their eyebrows at hearing his challenge for them. Why? Why are you giving us this challenge? Sona questioned with a sharp glare, making Issei smirk under his mask. For fun, plus whoever said I killed the boy you are after. He is alive after all, now come at me with full strength, if you do not, then I will kill you, or knock you out, whichever comes first. Issei stated while getting into fighting stance with his sword in his right hand pointing down and his left hand close to his back, making everyone tense, but Asia and Zenobia had a bit of hope in her eyes to finally find Issei, but both growled noticing what will happen if they move even an inch. Alright everyone, the mission is simple, we do not know who we are fighting, but we have to knock that mask off to find out what we need to know. Sona told everyone, which they nodded, except Zenobia and Asia who watched in annoyance. Right. They all called and charged, excepted Asia and Zenobia who were stuck on a wall, and Sona and Rias who knew what would happen if they go down, with Gasper next to the two since he does not fight, and Momo and Ria who are playing as supporting for everyone, with Akeno protecting the four as the others went in. The first to attack was Kiba who tried to make a jump slash, but Issei blocked it and added some of his strength to push Kiba in the air, which Tomo and Yura tried to do a sneak attack, but it failed as Issei dropped to his back and started to spin using the sword. He had to block both attacks, but once his legs pointed at them, he pushed himself up and used his feet to push them back. The jump landed on his feet to raise his arm and punch whoever was behind him, which was Kaneko who was tempting to punch him in the back of the head, which failed and flew back to where Akeno was taking Saji with her since he was behind her, which allowed Issei to jump when he sensed four magic attacks were about to hit him, which were lightning, fire, ice, and earth. But as he was in the air he fired his own attack of a cross magic between earth and fire to make a meteor and hit everyone, but it disappeared in 1 second and came back to him with the sound of a mirror cracking. But Issei who was falling slapped the attack to the roof, making it explode, making a totally badass scene as he landed safely on the ground and got into the stance he was at before. Well, the devils looked at him in shock, but one went down. Sona Styries Queen retired. Graphia's voice called out, making the devils look to where Tsubaki disappeared, which Issei whistled. So she used all her energy to reflect that attack, good thing it was at 15% in strength, otherwise she would have died in trying to reflect all that power, so ready to continue. Issei questioned with a smirk which no one saw from the mask, but they did felt it, though it did not matter to Sona who looked at Issei with a raised eyebrow and a white twitch. What did you do to Tsubaki? Sona asked with a glare, only to receive a chuckle from Issei. I used a spell, did you just think the arrows I shot were just made to hit people? No, if they miss then it is my advantage since I made those arrows myself which work for my bow, and so I can use magic and turn it into a sneak attack. Issei explained dully, which shocked everyone in front of him and who are watching the match at the moment. Aim it. If this is the case then Saji growled with his left eye turning black for a few seconds, which actually made Issei interceded and started thinking about what to do for a few seconds, till the right idea came to mind and looked at two girls. Hey Vritra user, I am going to target two people that like no love you right now, and once I start attacking these two, then I will not stop until they give, retired, or dead. Issei stated, making Saji raise an eyebrow not knowing who he was talking about and was surprised to know that two people like him, but before he could blink both Haruko and Momo were kicked into a wall, making Saji look at the two in surprise for a second. They liked me and I never knew yet this guy knew how. Saji whispered to himself in sadness till he was brought out of his thoughts as he heard multiple explosions going off at the same time and looked to see Issei's hand up with smoke surrounding where Momo and Haruko, which made everyone nervous. Sona Citri 1 pawn and 1 bishop retired. Graphia's voice called out, which made Saji freeze and everyone else to look at Issei in shock. But they did not notice that I put up a barrier to protect the two. I will admit that I do not feel like hurting the two after all. I knew about their crush for Saji ever since we met the first time since they always keep looking at him, and with the barrier I made a after image of myself and whispered my plan to them and they agreed. After all, they both will possible get a boyfriend and I get to test my theory. Issei thought, but ducked as Saji was in front of him with newfound speed, with his sacred gear ready, and his eyes turned black with his iris turning into a tilt of gold. I'll admit one thing, I did not know they liked me, but still I will never forgive you. Saji yelled as he tried to punch Issei, but Issei did not allow that and moved his head and hips to dog at all of Saji's punches, which to everyone's surprise, were close to the same speed as a knight, probably a bit faster. This is impressive, you did not even promote, and you are this capable. Seems I was right in picking him, Issei complimented before muttering the second sentence under his breath, but he ducked as both Kiba and Kaneko tried to hit him, with Akeno firing some lighting from the air every chance she gotten, which was little, and soon Tomo and Yura joined in the fight. Making Issei raise an eyebrow and put a hand behind his back while using his sword to block both Kiba and Tomo's attacks, and the next thing that surprises everyone was the sound of a gun being fired twice, one at an unprepared Ria and one at Tomo, but it was not a bullet that shot them, it was a ball of fire and a ball of holy energy respectively. Sona Citri, 1 bishop, 1 knight retired. Grafia called out. But the observer. Well, that just happened, Serafo commented, which everyone slowly nodded their head except Raynare, who giggled. That is to be expected, and I can tell he is barely trying, he wants something to happen, he is making them angry or something of the sort for something planned. Raynare stated, making everyone agree with her words, except Irina, who was watching the fight trying to figure out something that has been bugging her. Yes, you are right, he is planning everything, but I do not know why he is not taking out any members from your sister's peerage. Surziches. Yusaka asked, a bit curious about the thought, but Surziches did not reply, since he was a bit scared of what Issei might do. Is he angry at them? Because as far as I see, when he fights with one of your sister's members, he is struggling to control himself, but he must also have something that makes him not want to attack Asia, or Zenobia. Griselda spoke with a sharp look, causing everyone except Michael, Azazel, Grafia and Gabriel to look at him, wondering if Griselda was right. Just wait and see, cause I know what he is planning. Surziches replied in a tone that spoke no questions will be asked, making everyone raise their eyebrows, but Azazel knew what he was talking about and had an amused look on his face. Back to the fight. They are quiet, maybe they gave you, Issei thought, but jumped when Saji punched the ground where he was standing a few seconds ago. Then Saji jumped in the air and tried to send dome punches and kicks at Issei's face, but Issei just slapped them all away, then gave Saji a bitch slap across the face, making him fall to the ground in pain, just as Issei was standing on the second floor. Asper, try to get those arrows off of Asia and Zenobia now, cause we are going to need their help. Rias spoke to Gasper, who nodded his head and ran towards Asia and Zenobia, while everyone gave her a look that screamed, now you want to do something. Okay, that is it, I am bored as hell, and now I just want to go home and take a nap, Issei thought with bored look in his eyes, if anyone could see it, but he got out of his thoughts when a ball of black and red energy was about to hit him, but it missed about 10 feet away, making everyone raise an eyebrow at the action that Rias did, and they knew it was her since she raised her hand up. And it was still up in the air. Rias, you really need to train, Sona sighed in annoyance, causing Ria's head to drop a bit, making Issei snort. Yay, she really could, cause that thing couldn't even hurt me. Of course I can see some major flaws in everyone's fighting style, but that just means you need a good teach, Issei started, before he was punched in the face by Saji, who gave a mean uppercut, which broke the mask and reveals Issei's face, but he did not had a shocked look on his face, but he actually looked amused. Before punching Saji in the gut so hard that his eyes turned pure white before his iris came back, but by that time he was already falling towards the floor. Sona Citri Pawn retired. Grafia called as Saji disappeared, leaving the Gremory group and Sona and Yura still standing looking at Issei in shock. Issei Rias whispered in shocked, the face was matured and was sharp, and his hair was a mix of a few colors and had 2 different color eyes instead of having brown ones, and he grew, but without a doubt it was Issei who started to twirl his sword in his hand and gave them all a smirk. And every single person that was watching that was female had a blush on their face, seeing how he looked and wanted to see the rest of him. Yay, so what? Kaneko could have found out if she used Kai or Gasper if I allowed him to have a taste of my blood, but of course you would know it was me just by seeing my face, but it does not matter, the evil pieces do not work on me anymore, and I have to admit that I hate your guts at the moment, but I won't kill you, never intend to, no, I just want nothing to do with you, but Kiba, Akeno and Kaneko, I give them 50-50s, and that is just me saying that, I do not trust them, don't know when, and I do not care, I will trust them when I feel like it, but for now I am going to show you why I am the 3rd strongest in the world. Issei spoke in a calm yet threatening tone, but at the end he yelled out loud, which surprised everyone, except the 3 leaders of devils, angels, fallen, the strongest woman in hell and heaven, the strongest queen, and Raynare. What? The devils that were standing in front Issei called out shocked as Issei gave a battle-hungry smile with a rainbow color surrounding him and grew every second, which started to mess up the pocket dimension, making cracks appear and leak out his energy, which went to multiple people in the underworld, causing the low-class beings to fall to the ground breathing really hard. And soon all middle and high-class beings started to do the same, as Issei's power still grew and it kept on going, making soon all the gods and the tops of all the fractions gasp when his power kept on going and going every second, and soon it was a bit stronger than the fourth strongest being's power. But Issei didn't stop there as a dark smile formed on his face as Graphia was breathing hard. With most of the females who were not gods doing the same thing, except Raynare, who smiled. "Let's go," Issei yelled with a boosted gear appearing on his left arm. "Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker," Drake called, and after that it went all blank for a few seconds for everyone, except Raynare. "There, it is done, and damn, it looks like hell," Issei called out as he looked around and saw that the whole battlefield almost disappeared, but Issei turned his head to see a barrier covering everyone. "Issei," two voices called, which Issei looked at who said his name and saw both Zenobia and Asia on the ground still awake with a few bruises on them, making Issei smile at the two for a bit. "Don't worry, I am not going anywhere this time, you two," Issei spoke with a soft voice and smile, making the two smile back, but knocked out in a bit of time, and soon disappeared. Rias Gremory retired, Sona Citri retired, match goes to Issei Haidu. Graphia called with a tired. I guess I will head to the hospital, after all there is nothing better to do at the moment, maybe if Irina is here or Raynare. Issei spoke to himself with a shrug, but heard a snort from the back of his mind. "I think that was a bad idea, partner, after all that amount of energy went all over the world, and that was not even your full power in Balance Breaker, so you better expect many people wanting to fight you," Drake told Issei, who sighed at the information that was given. "That sucks, this is what I get by being a show-off, whatever, keep my life interesting I guess, besides there is no dragon that is crazy for revenge or something," Issei thought without a care as he was being teleported away, while unknown to his a blue female western dragon was flying to where he is. But the observers. "I thought for sure that after waking up Irina would have Azazel started, but flinched in shock when Irina jumped off her chair and ran to the door. Issei. Wait for me," Irina yelled as she ran as fast as she could to wherever Issei was at, while everyone watched her with surprise. "I believe he is going to go find Asia and Zenobia, since he did tell them before he left that he was not going to leave them, so maybe he is going to find them," Michael claimed with an amused look, but no one spoke until they looked at Raynare to see if she has something to say, but only to look shocked as they saw her with 10 black wings behind her back and a tiny pair of wings as well. "Yeah, he is going to check on them, and my wings I trained, that is all. Now if you excuse me, I am going to go find my ice-kun," Raynare declared before walking out of the room as everyone watched her, which in 1 second Auden started laughing like a madman. "That is the strongest red dragon ever, Heroswis, maybe you can ask him to be your boyfriend or something." Now I'm going to go have a talk with him and that other dragon user, since they both really interest me," Auden declared with a smirk, ignoring Roswis, who was on the floor drawing circles on the ground. "I will go to father, after all I want what people call payback from our last fight." A man with blonde hair with a beard and is wearing armor spoke, making Auden roll his eyes at him. "Whatever, let's go then," Auden grumbled in annoyance as he, Thor and soon Roswis walked away, but soon Artemis stood up with a dark look on her face, which made Zeus nervous. Artemis, where are you going?" Zeus asked his daughter, but all he got was a cold look from her, making everyone gulp. "He does not deserve that bow, I will not accept a man to hold that bow," Artemis declared and walked off with an aura of killing intent surrounding her, leading to Azazel to whistle at what Artemis said. "I give it a bit of time, and your daughter will fall in love with the red dragon, betting $500 on it, and free beer for one night," Azazel declared with a big grin, which almost everyone agreed except the females who sighed. "Well, I just got curious why all of you were here, and I admit that it is interesting to see the third strongest being in the world and almost get suffocated by him calling all of his energy out, but it is time for me, and Kunu should be heading back." Isaka spoke, getting a bit sarcastic when talking about Issei calling out his power, before talking with a tired smile on her face before looking for her daughter, but went wide-eyed at noticing that she was nowhere, making everyone concerned. "Isaka, is there something wrong?" Surziches asked with concern, but was met with a worried look on Yusaka's face. "Yes. Kunu is gone," Yusaka answered with worry in her voice and panic in her eyes, making everyone's eyes widen at those news. "But Issei. Can you help me find my mother?" A young girl with golden blonde hair with matching eyes, with the same color of foxtails and eyes, and is wearing a Maiko and a Jetta asked, making Issei blink for a second, then shrugged. "Sure, why not?" Issei answered simply. End of the part 1. So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.